Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman all set to present her fifth budget. She's introduced the concept of a Bahi Khata. Those are the images of a Bahi Khata as opposed to the leather briefcase which used to be carried by finance ministers in the past. A bit of budget trivia. Independent India has so far seen 23 finance ministers, excluding 3 prime ministers who've given at least one budget each. Only 8 of those finance ministers had presented at least 4 consecutive budgets. And remember, this is Nirmala Sitharaman's 5th straight budget. Some thought of her as a night watchman when she'd come in. Far from that, she's actually gone and established herself quite firmly in North Block. At this moment, leaving for Rashtrapati Bhavan. Images on your screen coming up in a moment from earlier this morning, where Nirmala Sitharaman with her team of finance ministry officials was actually doing that big photo opportunity before leaving for Rashtrapati Bhavan and then coming to Parliament. The first budget was of course presented way back in 1860 and from then on you've got Morarji Desai, who's presented a record 10 budgets, followed by P. Chidambaram, who's got 9 budgets. Nirmala Sitharaman some distance away from being able to hit Chidambaram's record, which is closest. Dr. Lahiri, these are the images of Nirmala Sitharaman with her crack team, and let me take you through some of the officials who matter most in the scheme of things. TV Somanathan, Finance and Expenditure Secretary, highly bright 1987 batch officer from the IAS cadre in Tamil Nadu. Tuhin Kanta Pandey, Secretary in the Department of Investment and Public Asset Management. Sanjay Malhotra, the Revenue Secretary. Ajay Seth, the Secretary in the Department of Economic Affairs. Anant Nageshwaran, whose economic survey we saw. Shankar, when you compare this team with some of the teams that have been involved in the budget making process in previous years, where do they stand in your view?
I think in the last 5 years this is the best team.
Why do you say that?
Because everyone in place is aligned with Nirmala Sitharaman's philosophy of under-promising and over-delivering. She's by nature conservative, and as a Tambram I can say that comes naturally to Iyengars. And you know, she's also entrepreneurial in some ways in the push that she has given to the CapEx program.
And some of these are highly regarded officials, the likes of a TV Somanathan. If you speak to officials around them, similar IAS batch or those who interact with them, they're said to be amongst the best of their generation.
Absolutely. I wouldn't like to comment on any one of them personally, sure, because I know them. Now, but I must compliment Shankar that as an Iyer, saying something complimentary about Iyengars shows that you are a man of elevated...
Comes from being born in Bombay.
But I must tell you, what you said, Rahul, is absolutely correct. Now, the best and the brightest among the IAS people are chosen for the Ministry of Finance. I mean, there is absolutely a prize posting. So trust me when I say that they must have been chosen through a very rigorous process.
Okay.
And that's a very good
thing. So I want to go back to the Budget Intelligence Dashboard. Shankar, you can come with me and we'll show our viewers some of the key data sets that Nirmala Sitharaman would be presenting, and you'll get a sense of where the thrust has been so far. Now, one of the big aspects will really be the push on disinvestment and whether the government's serious. This is an election year. We are building into an election cycle. What you see in the red line is the percentage of delivery. What you see in the green bar is the target that was set. So in FY21, the target was of 2.1 lakh crores. It's a very ambitious target. Only 16% of that was achieved. Last year, the target was 78,000 crores. Only 17% achieved. This year, the target was moderate at 65,000 crores. So far, till the 9th of January, 48% has been achieved. And my concern is, given that we've got a big budget, a big election coming, how much of a thrust area will this be, or will they just kind of stay very careful? That's Nirmala Sitharaman on your screen there, heading into the Ministry of Finance right before she goes to Parliament. This is, Shankar, a big moment for her.
Of course, it is a big moment because she came in and people had doubts for the first 2 years. Actually, people said, okay, she's going this year, she's going next year. And 2 years back when she presented the budget, it was clear that she was not moving and she's going to be there for her. I mean, the choice of Nirmala Sitharaman as finance minister has been very considered and deliberated upon by Prime Minister Modi, because you remember the Finance Minister is also one of the members of the Cabinet Committee of Security, and that is, let me put it, the Agrahar, the sanctum sanctorum of governance. And not anybody gets into that sanctum of sanctorum. So she is chosen because she is trusted, she knows, she is diligent, and she has really grown in the
she has.
job.
Make no mistake. When she came in, she was
the
ginger,
tentativeness
walking
has gone,
around very carefully. She's grown into the role over the years. Let's come and talk about disinvestment. The government not being able to realize its target for this year. It hasn't realized its target since FY19. Will they be ambitious, or will they now be very careful कि अगले election के बाद अब देखते हैं?
I mean, my general comment on this is that for a party which came into power saying business has no business in, government has no business in being business, they've done pretty poorly on disinvestment. And one of the problems is the narrative, because they have this year-to-year target which doesn't really work actually. I mean, they just need to build a sovereign trust fund and put all the PSUs there and move on from that.
Tell me this, Dr. Lahiri. Air India was arguably the tougher one to deal with. They mustered the political courage and in a very sophisticated fashion eased Air India out of government control and gave it to the Tatas. Some of the other companies should arguably easier to disinvest, and they don't seem to be showing the courage and the gumption to go out and disinvest those companies.
If you look at the political narrative, the opposition parties will always say that you are selling off the family jewels. So never mind whether it's bleeding or not, whether we're doing a very poor job of managing them, the opposition political approach, and that's irrespective of who is in power, makes it extremely difficult. And then the question is, there is never a good time to disinvest.
No, I don't buy that argument, because this is an argument from the past, from the 90s, the early part of the 2000s. I would have understood this. The government had, I would have assumed, come to the view, especially given what Prime Minister Modi has said, that it's time to get out of some of the non-strategic sectors. Let's get on with it. The pandemic came, that pushed the program back. Now there's an election. But as Dr. Lahiri says, there never is a good time to disinvest. You have to find the courage and the will to go out and do it.
The lamest excuse for pushing off disinvestment has been that we are not getting the right valuation, which is, for instance, if you look at IDBI, I mean, LIC's investment in IDBI is more than what they had got in the public offer. So LIC is saddled with IDBI. They are unable to sell IDBI from 2016. 32 companies have been listed. I think this is where Mr. Modi has been very tentative. And because of this continuous every year annual electoral cycle, I think the political parties are hesitating.
No, but when it comes to an issue like demonetization, he does show immense courage when he feels the conviction. And when it comes to getting rid of some of these companies, which the government ought not to be running, we haven't seen that kind of conviction. Let's go across to Karishma Sudani. She's our correspondent with Business Today Television. She's tracked the making of this budget very closely. She's at Finance Ministry virtually every single day. And give our viewers a sense of some of what you've picked up, Karishma, in the build-up to the budget presentation, about what viewers are likely to see when Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman starts presenting her fifth budget.